Man, what is up and welcome to a live edition of the Bruin Bible. It's been a while since we've had my main man, the Madman, in the saddle for this. Going to be a fun one, guys. Make sure you guys are hitting that like and subscribe button. We're on the quest to get 4,000 subscribers. We are trying to get that before the start of the college football season. So, guys, smash that like and subscribe button. We're going to talk about Bruins basketball, men's and women's tonight. Maybe sprinkle in some baseball. But before we get into all that, I feel like I've hung out with my brother Madman like twice in the past month. How are you doing, my man? It's so good to see you and great to have you back.
Great to see you, Thriller. Great to get the band back together. I know you've had to do some mop-up duty here these last few weeks. It's been scotch tape and glue for my guy, the Thrill, but the band is back together and looking forward to, some great episodes here now of continuity to come here, so thrilled to get the band back together, Thriller, just busy a little bit with life. I mean, the real reason was, and I alluded to it a couple episodes ago, I just was sick as a dog. I don't know what I got. The doc said it was something in my food. Man, I haven't been that sick since I was a kid. 2 weeks, I was just totally out of commission. So my main man Thrill has had to sort of talk in the tunnel, in the ether, in the dark. We've had to put some scotch tape and glue on this thing, but over the last few weeks. But the engine is humming again, Thriller, and it's great to be back.
Humming indeed, and let's just dive into it, man, because we were texting after the game. Incredibly frustrating, this UCLA men's basketball team. One of the most frustrating teams I can remember in recent memory, because you look at what this team is capable of. We are 21-3, Madman, on the Pacific Standard Time Zone this year. The second we travel outside of that, it's like we are a different ball club. We are now 3-11 after a 78-73 defeat over the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And it was just such a winnable game, man. I just thought defensively we couldn't figure out. The broadcast team was cracking me up because they felt like UCLA fans were like, another missed assignment by this defense. They were just kind of apoplectic as the fan base was. And the real stat that stood out to me, man, Donovan Dent, we had thought he had found his groove offensively. The game that he had, whether it was the Illinois game or the USC game, where he gets 30-plus points, you see the confidence come back with the shot, 22 assists to 0 turnovers over a 2-game stretch there. And then for him to come out, getting paid what he's getting paid in the NIL, 3 points. And I know Trent Perry was, even worse at that. Your backcourt combined for a total of 3 points between him and Perry. Perry 0 of 7 from the floor. It just felt like a team that was just off its kilter, off its rhythm. And we were leading in the first half, leading late in the second, and just couldn't pull through, despite some really good games from Bilodeau and Eric Daly. Madman, what are your thoughts on this game? Because it just kind of ruined my Saturday, if I'm being honest with you, just seeing this team lay a complete egg over a team that, is not even at 500 right now.
Yeah, Thriller. I mean, just super disappointing, right? I mean, it just feels like it's been the story of the season, right? two steps forward, 1 step backward. And every time we're sort of ready to anoint this team as the team that we believe them to be in the preseason as a perennial, this was let's not forget, preseason number 12 team in the country. You and I had sort of Elite 8, Final 4, analysis projections for this group and aspirations, and it just has not materialized. We thought we turned the corner there with Dent between that Illinois game and the SC game. You alluded to it. Obviously with Illinois, he had 15 assists and no turnovers, and then just was dominant against SC with the 30 piece, and followed it up with 8 assists, and did a great thing on the boards, and really had a great game in terms of controlling the floor in that game. But again, and you alluded to it in terms of time zones, but you just look at the home road split here, Thriller. I mean, this is a team that's one bad call in that Indiana game from being undefeated at home, and now you're looking at a team that has 10 road losses. And the thing that's so disheartening here with Minnesota is, you alluded to it, it's a sub 500 team in the conference, very mediocre team. Thriller, they played 6 guys and only 4 scored. I mean, 4 guys scored Minnesota, and they still won the game 78-73. And I think what was so tough about it is outside of Bilodeau, hitting some threes on some pick and pops and some screen action. I mean, Bilodeau at 31 of UCLA 73 points. You just really couldn't get anything going. And I think it speaks to sort of a larger issue here, Thriller. Dent had these 2 great games. He takes a step back. Dent has to be someone that is very aggressive offensively and is getting his guys involved. He cannot just be a facilitator. And here's why. Because he needs to be that aggressor and that initiator on the offensive side, because he's so lightning quick with that first step, because he can get to the paint seemingly at will. That's how you collapse the defense and you get open shots for everybody else. And I think the challenge with Dent is, he has to sort of read and understand his team better. He's always going to have Bilodeau on those pick and pops in that secondary action when the shot clock is running low. But it's really Dent's responsibility to be able to break down, how do I keep my guy Trent Perry super involved, and how do I integrate Sky Clark? And I think what we saw against Minnesota is now the return of Sky Clark has sent Trent Perry back to, a level where he was earlier in the season, where that's not the Trent Perry that we've seen over these last 10 games and who we have such high hopes for, because there is a little bit of a logjam now between Perry and Clark, and there's a little bit of stepping on each other's toes. And Dent, as the floor leader, has to sort of clear all of that up. I thought it was, Daly had a really nice game with 17 on 8 of 10, but a little bit of an anomaly, Thriller. You don't want Daly to be your second or third leading scorer. Daly's a guy who's going to take 8 to 10 shots. You want him to be a tertiary or a fourth option in the half court. Daly's going to get his points off a transition, getting into the passing lanes, running the floor, getting a great rebound, outletting it, and then being the trailer. He's really going to get his offense off of his defense and then maybe hit a shot or two. And again, that was evidence against Minnesota. He was super efficient, 8 for 10, but it was still only 10 points. So outside of Clark hitting a couple of threes, it was all Bilodeau and a totally disconnected offensive team for UCLA. And that's what's so disheartening, because the talent discrepancy in this game against Minnesota, Thriller, was significant. It was vast. You could tell UCLA was the far more talented team, but Minnesota had a really clear identity. They had a really clear game plan. They moved the ball. They had great action. Both Nebraska and Minnesota, it feels like those are the 2 teams that they're just so structured offensively. They don't have a lot of margin for error, but when it's clicking, it's really seamless, beautiful basketball from time to time. And then obviously the defensive lapses were really killer there, Thriller. So, you walk away saying, man, this had to be a victory. And for them to fall short was just super disheartening.
Yeah. And, we've talked about it at lengths in the past, man, where we felt like, and you've made some of these comparisons to kind of compare to those Laker teams, the 2009, the 2010 Lakers, that is so beloved in this city. Bilodeau being the number 1 scoring option is not necessarily what's best for the team. Like, we need Dent to step up and take that Mamba mentality as the most important player on the floor. And what I've seen is if Dent is the number 1 option, with Bilodeau kind of being that number 2 guy that could still get you between 15 and 20, and Dent maybe, going for a 20 plus, that's when this team is at its best. For Dent to really get, 1 of 6 from the floor and just really struggle out there and, I get the assist. We know he's a phenomenal passer, and that's always going to be a part of his ball game. But the fact that you can't get more than 3 points when what we've seen, the highest of the highs from this kid, it drives you out of your mind watching it. It's the most inconsistent team in the country right now. I feel very, credible saying that, because I think they're going to go back and win against Nebraska, who's a top 10 team tomorrow night, because we're at home. It's maddening. Madman, no pun intended there. But
no, Thriller, I mean? It's absolutely maddening. You're so right. And I feel the same way. I mean, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago after they beat Purdue. I was like, look, I think these Michigan games are, the Michigan duet is going to be hard, but I see them kind of coming back and beating Illinois. And granted, it came down to the buzzer, but we did it. We're going to be home again. It's going to be another situation where folks are kind of writing this team off after a couple of days of negative press. It's going to be exactly a Mick Cronin type of situation. And, he's going to be able to motivate these guys. And it really feels like they're going to be in prime position to beat Nebraska, given the level of talent that they have. But Thriller, we've talked about it. Guard play is so critical in college basketball today, and really always has been. And in order to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, you got to have two lead guards, be able to really kind of create offense for themselves and for others. And there was a feeling there that we sort of had that for a second with Dent and Perry. And I think the return of Sky Clark, I think that Dent was a little passive, where he said, look, Clark's back, so Clark's going to get shots. Perry's going to get shots. Let me take a step back and integrate Sky Clark back into the offense, where I think that was just a mistake, where he should have said, look, this is my team. I've got a very clear identity. Perry is on a roll right now. Bilodeau's kind of that safety blanket on the pick and pops and the ISOs late in the shot clock. And everyone else is going to sort of need to find their rhythm through that. And so I think that's the mentality, to your point, that he needed to have in this Minnesota game versus, let me take a step back and really kind of allow Clark to kind of get reintegrated. And he was like, well, I had 2 killer games. Maybe I can take a step back and do it. And I think he just sort of, not in a negative way per se, but maybe he was almost too unselfish to be able to say, I had 2 great games. I think I can maybe take a step back. Maybe we're playing a little bit of a lesser opponent, and let me really integrate Sky Clark into this. And that's what happens. You go on the road in this conference, Thriller, it doesn't matter who you're going to play. If you don't have that killer instinct, if you don't have that A game, and you're not going to execute the best version of game plan that's suitable to your roster, you're going to get beat in this conference on the road. There are no gimmies, and UCLA's had to learn this the hard way, and it still feels like they're on the right side of the bubble. But guess what? That margin for error after that Illinois win has eroded significantly. UCLA is going to have to finish this season strong.
Yeah, man. And it just feels like with this team, it's like, Eric Daly finally has a great game offensively, but Trent Perry and Xavier Booker take a step back. Or when Bilodeau has a big game, Dent can't get it right. This is the complete opposite of a well-oiled machine. The women's basketball team right now, everyone's in motion. Everyone's lighting it up. You just feel like this team, they're all in together. And it's just like one beautiful synchronous team. When they're flowing, it's so much fun to watch. This team, when they can't get it going, and this, it's kind of a point to Mick Cronin and what we talked about with his offensive philosophies. We don't feel like there's a lot there offensively when it comes to Mick. And this is showing again and again for this team, man. I mean, Xavier Booker, I was really excited about, man. The Illinois game, 5 3-point baskets this guy was able to put in. You see the shooting ability, the confidence going through the roof. How does he go out there and get 0 points in 10 minutes of action with 1 field goal attempt? It's like I forgot he was on the floor, Madman.
Yeah, Thriller, it's a great point about Booker. But here's the other thing, right? Like, as great as Bilodeau is, as much as Booker has shown such tremendous growth, as great as Sky Clark is as a shooter, all of these guys are dependent on Dent. Like, these aren't guys that are necessarily going to be able to get their own shot in the half court. Bilodeau a little bit in ISO, but overall, these guys are very, very dependent on Dent. Like, think about Xavier Booker. When does Xavier Booker really get his offense going? It's on the pick and pop with Dent, or they're going to run some secondary action, have him on the elbow, the free throw line. He's going to take that shot, or he's going to rim run, right? It's not like Booker's not a guy where, you throw him the ball on the right wing and go ISO and like, okay, Xavier, go to work, or you post him up. That's not his game, right? He's so dependent on that primary lead playmaker. And so if that playmaker is not going to be aggressive offensively, then it allows a defense to sort of cheat and sag off of that player, notably Donovan Dent, and limit the other guys. That's why Dent's offense is so critical to the energy of this team, because it allows the open space for guys like Booker, for guys like Bilodeau, for guys like Clark, and for Perry to be able to sort of do his thing as a secondary ball handler as well. He sort of unlocks so much. It's also why, Thriller, it's almost like the Allen Iverson comparison, in the early 2000s, where Philly's best offense was Allen Iverson kind of shooting the ball, even if the percentage was low. And, AI was sometimes in the high 30s, low 40s. I mean, he was a big-time volume shooter.
Sometimes under the influence,
it was, but the reality was Philly's offense, they were a great offensive rebounding team, and they needed him to keep shooting to open up space for others. And Dent in this offense is kind of similar. Even if he's got an off night offensively, even if he's missing a lot of bunnies on the inside and we're frustrated, the fact that he can get to the rim and he's shooting those shots, the defense has to honor that. And they have to honor that in a very reactive way because his first step is so lethal. And so, but on a night, I actually don't care if Donovan Dent from time to time doesn't have a very efficient game offensively, but the FGAs have to be north of 10, north of 12. The game you can't have is the game that he had here where, the shot isn't falling, but he stops at six field goal attempts, because that becomes very, very limiting. So I think hopefully it's a lesson for Donovan Dent, sort of a painful one at this point in the season, but to say, you know what, for this team to be the best version of themselves, I have to have the mentality that I'm going in with a 20-10 mindset. I'm trying to get 20 and I'm trying to get 10 assists. And even if I don't get the 20, but I'm aggressive enough to try and get the 20, that's actually going to open up offense for all my secondary guys.
Literally took the thoughts out of my head with that, because it's hard to criticize a guy when you have 15 assists in a ball game. Like, he clearly did that and getting his teammates involved in making plays, but it's that killer instinct in your own right to take the right shots. And I guess with Booker is my thing, and just a failure on the offensive, landscaping in terms of game planning for everything. He is the tallest and most athletic guy in most gyms he goes to, even in the Big Ten. How are we not treating this like Lob City Clippers? Just get that guy, throw him the rock. Like, this is DeAndre Jordan body type right here. Just throw him the ball in the paint and let him go to work. I'll never understand that. I'll never understand that when this guy can grab quarters off the top of the backboard. You know what I mean? It's wild. And I'll be honest, Bobby Durkin for Minnesota. Those like Zach Galifianakis impersonators from The Hangover, or like Michael Jackson impersonators. This guy was a damn near JJ Redick impersonator on the Vegas Strip. 7 3-pointers in this game, all killers. Bobby Durkin, I got to give respect to, because, like, my God. That guy was
Durkin and Thriller, the other thing is, I mean, it was wet, man. Yeah. I mean, there was nothing that was like touching rim either. Like, it was splash. Absolutely. Durkin was just absolutely crushing it. And Thriller, it just speaks to how efficient Minnesota was offensively. Because, again, to sort of the earlier point, 4 guys scored. I mean, only 4 guys put the ball in the basket. Maybe the only
team in the Big Ten that's like, has a lesser bench than we do, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And they beat us. But how does 4 guys even, like, I didn't even know that was possible and come out with a W, man. Like, that's so wild.
No, it's insane, Thriller, and the other 2 guys, some decent spot minutes there, but 6 guys playing, 4 guys scoring. It's just it's absolutely unbelievable. And now I think, Thriller, to your point, as we sort of look forward to Nebraska at home, this feels like you got to win one of these next 2, because I'll tell you, if you fall short against Nebraska, no shame there. But if you go on the road to Galen Center and lay an egg against SC, particularly where SC is right now, 5 straight losses, Chad Baker, Mazzara essentially got kicked off the team, with 2 games left in the regular season. Gilbert Arenas going crazy on these podcasts. I mean, SC is an absolute shambles right now from finishing this season. If you go to Galen Center and this road record sort of holds up and you lose that game, oh boy, you're firmly back on the bubble in my mind, and you're going to need to do something in the Big Ten tournament to get into the dance. I still believe as long as this team beats SC, even if they don't beat Nebraska, which I think they will. I actually think we're going to win the next 2. But even if they don't beat Nebraska and they beat SC, I think they're in, and I think they're safe. But man, oh man, now it'll put a ton of pressure on that SC game to be able to come through.
Yeah, man. And it's one of those things too, man, where it's like, this is when we felt like we were starting to just ignite that little spark that we had. Just such a setback, such a disappointment. It's like that girl that you've been trying to date for so long. You're like, you know what? Things are going good now. And then she just breaks it off with something stupid. And you're just like, God, why'd I give her a second shot here? This is stupid. I feel dumb giving UCLA basketball another chance.
Well, it's as the saying goes, Thriller, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right. And so
the sad part is I've been fooled like 20 times this year.
Yes. Now knowing you and knowing us, check back in 24 hours. Like if UCLA finds a way to beat Nebraska by 10, Thriller's going to be like, look, we're back, baby. It's time. The Elite Eight run is happening. So
buy the plane tickets. Buy
the plane tickets. So this is all sort of contingent for the next 24 hours. And let's see what happens against the Cornhuskers.
Well, should we talk about the best basketball team within the school right now?
Oh, absolutely. Best basketball team in California, the best basketball team in, America, maybe the country. Absolutely. Yeah,
this UCLA women's basketball team, they're not just beating teams, Madman. They are destroying them. And talk about, we want to complain about UCLA's lack of depth or Minnesota's having 4 players score. The depth on this team and how they harmonize together on a basketball court is beautiful. And just to beat SC, and I know Juju Watkins is out. It was kind of a bummer because, man, if that was the game, you have a healthy Juju and, she is USC, but, man, we really hope for a speedy recovery.
Oh,
She's
absolutely.
a special talent on the basketball floor. Against this UCLA team, maybe the best UCLA women's team in school history. I mean, what a game that would have been. UCLA wins by 23, and it was just so much fun to watch this team play, man. I settled up in front of my TV screen and just the variety of different scores, the Hawkeses, the Bettses, familiar names within the UCLA lore. It's such an easy team to root for, and Corey Close is doing a hell of a job. Hell, I want her to coach the men's team next year if we can't figure this out with Mick. Unbelievable stuff from Corey Close, and it just feels like this could be the year, Madman, where UCLA hangs the banner for women's basketball. And, I mean, let's talk about baseball just real quick. I mean, swept the SEC. We did this in Globe Life Park in Dallas. Rock Chalowski and Will Gasparino looking like Mark McGuire and Canseco, the Bash brothers, man. They are hitting jacks that are still going right now. So, number 1 in baseball, number 2 in women's basketball. Talk to me, man. What are your thoughts? It's a proud time to be a UCLA Bruin.
Thriller, I mean, it is such a proud time to be a UCLA Bruin, and we were talking about this offline. This has the makings, Thriller, of being perhaps one of the most iconic, memorable spring sporting seasons in UCLA sports history. Because let's not forget, Alyssa Liu won gold medal as in ice skating for the Winter Olympics as a UCLA Bruin. You're looking at the incredible things that Jordan Childs is doing with UCLA gymnastics. You're looking at UCLA women's beach volleyball and where they are. You're looking at UCLA, men's volleyball. You're looking at UCLA men's water polo. You're looking at baseball. You're looking at women's basketball. Every sport I just described, UCLA's top 2. I mean, and so there's a world where, I mean, there could be, not to sound like LeBron, God forbid, but maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 championships, Thriller, this spring. I mean, holy cow, we are just oozing right now with talent all over the place. And Thriller, we have to give the shout out to women's basketball. I mean, number 2 team in the country. I think the best thing that happened to this group was that early season loss to Texas. They were a little tired at that point. They played a lot of tough competition early in the season. Credit to Corey Close with the quality of the non-conference competition, Thriller. This team felt so battle-tested going into Big Ten play. So I think that clipping against Texas just really got them super focused. They go 18-0, perfect, unblemished in the Big Ten. They're the odds-on favorite, of course, to win the Big Ten tournament. We could have the trilogy with SC on Friday in the first round, the official first round of the Big Ten tournament. And so there you could look for a 3 straight sweep of SC in that regard, and then headed to that NCAA tournament. And you've got your eyes on 2 teams, Thriller. You got Texas because you want to avenge that loss, and that's a potential national semifinal opponent. And then, of course, big, bad UConn, and UConn sitting there at number 1, 30-0. Azizi Fudd, they got Sarah Strong, defending national champions, even without Paige Buchers, they are just so talented. And I just really believe that we're headed for that UConn-UCLA rematch. And I think the big difference this year between last year, Thriller, and I think we alluded to it, Betts is Betts, Rice is Rice, Jaquez is that emotional leader. I think the addition of Sienna Betts has been a tremendous X factor defensively, and then the guard play. The guard play is just different this year, because outside of Kiki Rice, the wings kind of lack some athleticism in those elite games. It was hard for anybody else to get their own shot. And so what was happening is UConn was just sort of packing the paint with Betts, and Rice was there all alone. This year, it's very different. You've got really athletic wings that can get their own shot and are absolute sharpshooters. And I think that's the ultimate sort of elevation here that could get this team over the top. I expect them in a rematch scenario against UConn without Beckers. I think UCLA is going to cut down the Nets, Thriller, and I'm so excited about that. And then you mentioned it. I mean, baseball, holy cow. Anytime you can go and sweep the SEC in anything, I mean, it's special. And again, common theme here, Thriller, tough non-conference. Like when you play those challenging early season games, it just sort of sharpens you. And you're not going to win them all. You're going to get clipped a little bit. But what that does in terms of kind of setting up the season for success, I think is absolutely significant. So really excited about where baseball can go here, Thriller. Super pumped. I mean, the women's basketball season is right here upon us in terms of tournament time and March Madness. And then don't sleep on beach volleyball, water polo, men's volleyball. I mean, it just and shout out to Chesney. That guy seems to be at every sporting event, man. It's unbelievable. The guy's everywhere, and he's really soaking it all in about what it means to be a Bruin. I love the fact that he's tweeting. I love the fact that he says, you can have it all. You can get it all here at UCLA. He just has sort of embraced the ethos of what it means to be a UCLA Bruin, and we're so absolutely delighted about that and so thrilled for him. And then, having guys like Novak Djokovic, what a big tennis fan I am, Thriller. Having Djokovic come and talk to the team. I mean, just this is why UCLA is just such an incredible place, one of one. We just rattled off 7 teams in spring sports that are top 2 in the country. And we just said the GOAT of tennis came and visited UCLA, practices there. We know Brady practices there. All of these greats play at UCLA. It's just, this is why this place is so special. And I think Chesney is feeling it. He's leaning into that aura. And now let's hope all of this spring success, Thriller, starts manifesting itself on the gridiron in the fall.
Yeah, man. Chesney having dinner with Bill Simmons, too. I don't know if you saw that.
Gosh.
Picture. So cool, man. And looks like Simmons, his former Holy Cross guy, now a donor for UCLA football, which is a welcome sign for the Bruins. And to your out-of-conference point, it stands, unless if your name is Lincoln Riley, man. That guy doesn't want anything to do with tough out-of-conference opponents. Get him off the schedule for Lincoln. But, man, it's so much fun always talking ball with you, bro. It's great to have you back. What a fun episode talking about this. And, it sucks talking about, UCLA men's basketball and some of the lows. But if we beat Nebraska, like we just talked about, you and I are going to talk ourselves into some wild run they can have in the tournament. I know you UCLA Bruin fans feel the exact same way.
Thriller, it's so true, but it's not because we're homers. Like I sort of want to like double click that point. We love UCLA more than just about anybody. So like, don't get it twisted in that regard. But my God, this team is so maddening because it's like what I told my dad the other day. I said, he's like, come on, legitimately, how far are they going to go? Like, what are we doing here? I said, Dad, I'm going to be honest with you, not to sound like, someone who's waffling and not committing. I'm like, they honestly can beat anybody in the country on any given night, and they can honestly lose to anybody in the country on any given night. And that is really sort of where we are with this group. The best version of this group, when Dent is, threatening 2010, Trent Perry's a 5-star, Booker looks like, a modern big in the NBA, and, you got Clark and Bilodeau knocking down outside shots. I mean, this team is as explosive as anybody in the country. I mean, this is the team that took Arizona all the way. This is a team with 2 top 10 wins, potentially a third super quality win tomorrow night. And then you look at sort of the worst version of this team when they're looking stagnant and lost. I mean, this is the team that lost to Cal, and Cal ended up having a really, really nice season. So that loss doesn't look as bad as it once did at the beginning of the season. But this is a team that's losing to Minnesota, and this is a team that looked lifeless against Iowa and lifeless against Wisconsin, and you're wondering what's going on. So I just have never quite seen a UCLA team for the better part of 20 years where the variance is so wide. They actually sort of remind me, Thriller, and you're a little young for this, but they sort of remind me of those early 2000s Steve Lavin teams, where Lavin, post Herrick, he had great individual talent. He had guys like Jaron Rush and Jerome Moiso and Dan Gadzurek, and there were super talented guys, but they just couldn't ever really consistently mesh together. And so you saw them like lose games to St. Louis, but then like they would go into Stanford when Stanford was number 1 in Maples Arena and upset Stanford. Like, this has such a Lavin-esque feeling to this season, which is so interesting because Cronin, like personality-wise and being like a player's coach the way Lavin was, he's so the opposite of who Steve Lavin was. Like, I can't think of 2 coaches more different than Mick Cronin and Steve Lavin, but this feels like a Steve Lavin season at UCLA. And so that's where you just don't know. And those Lavin teams usually – It netted out in terms of the Sweet 16 because they kind of got hot for 2 games and then it caught up to them. So is this a similar fate, or is it a first-round exit, or is it a Final Four appearance? Like, it's all equally likely, and I think that's why we're going to tune in and when we're going to be so attached because you just don't know what you're going to get. I hate to quote Forrest Gump when it comes to UCLA basketball, but you just don't know what you're going to get.
Life is like a box of chocolate for UCLA basketball, man. But it's always a fun one breaking it down with you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We're serious. We are trying to get 4K subscribers by the start of next football season. We're going to be on here a lot more, guys. We got spring football coming up in the next month. We got college basketball, men's and women's. We're probably going to be breaking down those games post-game each and every night. We're going to be in the house tomorrow at Pauley Pavilion. So if you see us, make sure to come say what's up. We would love to talk to you guys out there supporting the greatest university on the West Coast, the UCLA Bruins. Much love, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we will talk to you soon. Bruin Bible, we are officially out.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.